Hi, folks. I screwed up already. I don't know how I do this all the time. I only did it 150 times, and probably out of 150 times, I got it right three times. I forgot to click this off. See how easy it is? Click on and off, and I keep forgetting. Anyway, tonight, my friend who's sitting next to me, who don't want to be on screen,
We need the comments.
is going to be reading the comments. And tonight, like I said, I'm going to be answering and acknowledging all the people that put posts up, comments up, because I've been reprimanded by a lot of people that I pay no attention to the people that are watching the show and that have comments. So tonight, and just before I forget, tomorrow night there was a couple of guys that wrote to me about the big bad bill that Trump passed about the tax write-offs for horse racing, but it was very bad for gamblers. So I'm going to have, and they suggested I have Michael on, who knows all about that stuff. So tomorrow night we're going to have Michael on. We're going to have Michael on. Let me bring my friend. I got to bring my friend Manny on. Uh, so 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 tomorrow night I'm going to have Michael on. We're going to talk about what the tax thing did for gamblers, and we're going to talk about and we're going to have Freddie on and talk about the tax shelter. We're going to talk about the tax shelter for racehorses, and we're going to talk about the other side of the coin, what it does to gamblers. So that'll be tomorrow night. I'll have all the experts on about that stuff. So tonight I will answer. Now let me just say this up front before you hit me with your questions. I made a statement a long time ago after I talked about my book. After my book, after I got done talking about my book, I was going to end the podcast and just concentrate on the TV series. But I was convinced not to quit. In fact, even today, just this morning, Michael LaChance called me up, and he's going to come back on. And he says, "You're doing a great job," because they heard that I just want to end this thing. But he convinced me again. He was the first one to convince me. He called me up this morning, convinced me to keep it going, and he's gonna come back on, and then hopefully we'll get his son back on. Kid's a good kid, good trainer, good driver. So uh, so tonight I'm going to just. But when I started the podcast again, I made a stupid statement. I says, "Ask me any questions you want. We don't have to talk about the book anymore. Ask me any questions you want." And the questions start coming. The problem with the questions and the statement that I made was that I can't answer a lot of the questions. Not that I don't know, I just won't answer them, and I can't, and I just can't answer them because it involves a lot of people that are still alive. It involves a lot of people that have families that are around that I'm friendly with, and I never should have made that statement. Ask me any question about anything, and I'll tell you. My book is a different story. My book is about me. My whole life in racing was an open book before I even wrote the book. So so just be kind, be respectful. I'll answer as many questions as I could. I'll say hello to everybody because my friend sitting next to me, and Tommy Stiggs too, the Tommy Stiggs Social Club. He calls me all the time. He says, "You got to pay attention to these guys that are writing your comments. You're getting hundreds of comments every show, and you don't acknowledge any of them." So, and for that, I apologize. And also the fact that in the beginning, I did this with a crew. I did this with three cameras, camera people, produce everything. And but after the maybe 30 podcasts and I got done with my book, I said I'm not going to do it no more. When LaChance asked me to continue doing it, I just do it myself. Now I just come up here on the computer, I press hit live, and here we are. Sometimes I forget to hit live. There was once or twice I did a whole show and it never was even recorded. So, but I'm learning.
All right.
But So, what?
Start by saying hello to
Okay.
Sundance, Angelique,
Okay.
Rick,
Now, Jimmy, do
Francis.
you want me to do this? How about we do this? I can go right down the line and put it right on the screen here.
There we are.
Okay. So we're going to acknowledge. We're going to acknowledge everybody tonight. I'm going to have another friend of mine come on, Manny. And Manny is a horse owner in the standardbreds, and he's about to get into the thoroughbreds too. So Manny's a good guy, and Manny's a very, very friendly guy, very nice guy, and he loves to talk. So he's a great guy to have in the wings because sometimes I run out of things to say. But right now we're going to go right down the list and say hello to everybody, so I don't have to get these threatening emails. Okay, Sundance. Hello, Sundance. Now, Sundance is she used to work for me for years, and Sundance, like I said, this is for you guys for all. So ask me any questions about when you worked for me and how I used to go crazy turning over trunks, and if you have any of them good stories that you remember that I forgot, you can ask them. And then this is Francis. Hi, Francis. See now this become like a social club. That's why I don't look because everybody says hello to everybody, and so that's why I just breeze right through them. But every once in a while you ask a question, and I just assume that you're talking to one another. So I created a social club. You know what I should do too? I should create a dating game, some kind of dating game, because I know Sundance is not married. She got a divorce. I don't know about the rest of them. Anyway,
let's stay at it.
Let's go. Okay. See, now Sundance says, hello, Francis. Everybody, it's like, okay, here's Rick Simon. Hi, Rick.
Hi, Sundance.
Hi. And then Rick Simon says, hi, Sundance. See, that's what I mean. It's a social club. So, I could just go about not even pay attention to that. That's what I do. But then later on, from what I understand, they start asking me questions. But I already put this on a pay no mind list. I don't bother with them.
Now say hello to Angelique.
Okay, wait a minute. Oh, let's see. Here's something. Rich, hello. How is your mom? Okay. So now they're talking to Rick Simon. Rick Simon, this guy here, he's the one we had him on the show because his mother had cancer.
Yeah.
She had breast cancer, I believe, and she had a big tumor on her neck. I sent Rick all the information to the surgeon that I had that treats you with ivermectin, that whole bit, and he's going through that process now. So hopefully his mother will be okay. So Sundance, to answer the question for Rich, is that his mother's taking the blood test. They're going to send the blood test to my doctor, and then he's going to prescribe ivermectin and whatever else he's going to prescribe. So Rick answers you, Mom is okay, thanks. Okay. Francis, hi, Manny. Okay, now you got Manny. Now you got your own fan club here.
Yeah, now we got our own. Yeah, I like that, Larry.
Got your own fan. And she, pretty girl. Hi, okay.
Maybe she wants to be in the dating.
I think this was the girl, Angelique, one of the girls last night. It was either Angelique or Francis that asked you, Sundance, about my email address.
It was Angelique wanted to give her email for you to give it to Sundance because they didn't want to post it on here and have every free calling.
Yeah, but I put it up there. My email.
No. She's going to send her email to you, and you're going to forward it to Sundance for her, and then they can communicate.
Oh, so she didn't want my email.
She needed your email
in
order to send hers.
Okay.
You
see how this is like a Dear Abby thing. Okay. Well,
Larry, why don't you make a little room for your friends so we can see both of you?
No, he don't want to come on screen.
Oh, he's the guy behind. Okay.
Let me tell you something.
He's the guy behind the curtain.
Yes, there's a couple of matters. One of them is the statute of limitations are not over for a lot of the things that he could talk about. So that's one thing. The other thing is he has stories that would. I'm probably the only one that knows this in the whole world. I haven't seen this guy sitting next to me for maybe 40 years. He found out that I was going. I don't know how he found out. Maybe through he stops in a bagel store every once in a while, or a pizza place, and the guy in there was talking about me. So he says to the guy, "You know Larry Rolla?" He says, "Yes." So they told him where I go every morning for breakfast, and he popped up, and that's how we reunited after like 40 years. And he started telling me stories that many of them I knew, but a lot I didn't know. Heavyweight stuff. Uh, and I he won't repeat them. He won't make it. He won't He won't do it on the podcast. And but someday maybe after I get my movie done, I'll sit down with him and write a screenplay about his experiences, and it'll be Academy Award. But right now, he's keeping silent. Okay, let's go. Okay, Angelique. Hello, Sundance Social Club. Hello, Francis. Okay.
Rick. And maybe
Hello,
some.
Rick. Oh, this is great.
Yeah, well, we'll probably have some questions further down. Now, after all you guys start saying hello to one another, and you're you're happy, ask me some questions. Be respectful. Ask me some questions. And Sundance, you could start it off because of everybody that's listening here. You probably know more about me than anybody that's listening. So you can talk about the horses. You can talk about anything you want. Okay, Rick Simon. Manny, what's the word on a no-show job for me? Okay. All right. No-show job for me. I can't ask him that because I may be asking enough for myself. Okay, Sundance, Angelique. Okay, here they go. Okay, Angelique says, hello, Manny. You already have a fan club, Manny.
I love it. Yeah, it's great.
All you kids out there, you better have some questions for me. Otherwise, we're never going to do this again. And tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow, I got some couple of interesting guys. Okay, here we go. Francis. Hi, Angelique. Here we go. Francis, smart move, champ. See, she's talking about somebody else that's asking questions. And then Rick comes back. Hiya, Ange. Okay. Rick, I should start a dating game here or some kind of, one time I'm going to tell you this just because there's no questions yet. So I'm going to say this and maybe somebody will jump on this. Years ago, and I probably spent about $5,000 putting this whole thing together. I was sitting in my house. This was before I wrote my book. I was sitting in my house, and I had nothing to do. And I'm saying, how could I because my life has been a series of ups and downs, making millions, spending millions, owing millions. That's my whole life, up and down, from being a millionaire and living in mansions to owing $1 million and sleeping on park benches. That's my life. And most of the people on here, they know that. So I'm thinking now, and unfortunately, I wound up like this, on the downslide. So I says, how can I make a few $1,000,000? And I thought of something because you can't sell chances, you can't have contests, you can't have anything like that unless you get licensed and a lottery license and you need a whole bunch of stuff. But I come up with an idea that if I open up a private club and just have a membership, that's allowed. So I formed a website and everything else. It cost me about altogether for about $5,000. I put it all together. The reason I put it all together was because I I was able to use. I come up with an idea that I was able to use social media to market this idea that I had for a private club, and then I hooked up with a couple of guys, couple of people that had millions of followers on TikTok. So I talked to them and they said, yes. I said, if I make you a partner in my idea, can we use your millions of followers to join my private club? And they said, absolutely. So I put it all together. And here was the private club. It was a private club called the Bullshit Club. And what we were going to do was we were going to make a documentary. The first half of the documentary was going to be exposing the best bullshit stories you ever heard. The second half of the documentary was going to expose the biggest jerk-off scumbags and assholes that you know of. And we were going to expose these people. And we were going to make a documentary about that. And if you become a member for $10 a year, only members are allowed to submit your stories about the biggest bullshit story you ever heard, about the biggest asshole, jerk off, or scumbag. And if we use your story in the podcast, in the documentary, you're going to get $5,000 plus you'll be on film and you can tell it live. And I figured that if I get, now I was dealing with 3 people that together they had close to 20 million followers on TikTok. So I says, if I just get 10% of the 20 million, and at $10 a piece, I'll have a couple of $100 million. So I go to these people, and right away, because they have so many TikTok followers, they have attorneys that are their agents, because they're making, these kids with TikTok are making a lot of money, and their attorneys wouldn't let me do it. They wouldn't do it. They says, we're making too much money with advertisement and everything. These kids are making $10,000-15,000 a month, and we don't want to blow it on this thing. So I put the whole thing and I had a website built and everything. But if anybody wants me to I'd have to make a new website. But now I can probably make a website for $1,000. And the idea is just form a private club, $10 membership, submit the biggest bullshit story you ever heard, or submit the biggest asshole, jerk off, or scumbag that you know of. We're going to make a documentary. Okay, we're on to the next thing. Rick Simon says, that's not true. You always go through the comments that I have seen. Okay, but a lot of people yell at me, Rick. So, and a lot of times I do ignore them, because you see, that's why I brought Jimmy up here today. It was Jimmy's idea to acknowledge everybody that makes a comment, and I don't. You see, there's a couple of things. I'm 84 years old. My mind is like a mushroom. I forget a lot, and it's hard for me. I can't even remember to hit the fucking live button most of the time. And you expect me to read, like Tommy Stiggs that has this show. He keeps saying, you got to acknowledge the people. How am I supposed to remember what I'm saying, do the podcast, and read the comments at the same time? It's impossible. It's impossible. There are many times I go to the diner and I got to put the fucking navigation on to find my way back home again. It's just, I have a problem. And I went to the doctor and he gave me the memory test. And after the memory test, well, he starts off with the typical, he says, now I'm going to tell you 5 things and remember these 5 things. So he says, okay, I'm going to give you 4 words: car, smoke, road, this, and then you remember them? Yeah. So, okay. Now after he talks for about 5 minutes, he says, okay, now what are the 5 words I told you in the beginning? I said, I don't know. Okay. The bottom line is he asked me an hour's worth of questions. He says, you failed. So he gives me a prescription for memory pills. It costs $250. So I take the memory pills. I've been taking them for 2 months, and I think I'm getting worse. So it's hard for me to look at these look at these comments and answer them. So that's why maybe if I get enough questions and it works, every Wednesday I will just do a podcast pertaining to honoring and mentioning all the people that write comments. So that's what this is all about. But I'm going to tell you something. If you don't start asking me questions and you have this social club, you can still have the social club and talk to one another. That's fine. But I'm going to do my own thing and don't complain. Okay, let's go down the list.
We could go to diner. They could talk.
Yeah. Or I can have a party once a month. I'll rent a hall and invite everybody. We'll have a party and everybody can talk. Okay, Sundance, Manny, stick with harness horses. Okay. Well, that's because I mentioned that Manny met with Eddie, our friend Eddie. And everybody knows Eddie. And he went down to meet with Eddie the other day at Belmont. And he's going to buy a horse. He's going to buy a couple of horses. And if he gets lucky with them, who knows? He might, because, look, harness racing is the game that I love, even though I was in both. The reason I love harness racing more is because you race every 7 days. I don't have the time. I mentioned this the other day. I don't have the patience to wait every 3-4 weeks to race a horse, and then the race don't go, and then you go into. I don't have the patience. And I mentioned it. I forgot who I told, but when I was a kid, the reason I never win playing cards is because we're playing gin rummy, and I get 10 cards, and nothing matches, and it's like 80 points. I knock with 80 points. Well, okay, what do I owe? I pay you. Give me 10 more cards. I don't have the patience to go to wait. I was in the thoroughbred business for a lot of years, and I put up with it only because I was barred from harness racing. But the minute I got all my licenses back, I always went back to harness. I love the action, and everybody that knows me knows that. Okay. But harness racing may not be around after 3-4 years. It's going to be very, very big. In fact, I was talking with Mike LaChance about it this morning when he called me, and he agreed that probably in 3 years, Kentucky and that whole surrounding area is going to be the place, and racing around here is going to be gone. It's going to be gone. So in Belmont is going to be probably probably the biggest thoroughbred track in the country, and they're going to be racing for a lot of money. The maidens might be going for over $100,000. So it's not a bad idea because, first of all, Manny already knows the horse business. He never been, and it might not be, and he can afford to do what he's doing. He's not a stupid guy. So it might be a good move for him because, number one, he can afford it. Number two, he loves the business. To buy himself maybe a 40 claimer and also a 2-year-old. The 40 claimer will more than earn enough to pay for himself and pay for the expense of the 2-year-old. And if he gets lucky with the 2-year-old, there's a lot of money. It's big money, and so I think now if he was scraping nickels and dimes together to do it, I would tell him not only don't buy thoroughbreds but get out of the horse business. But he's with a good trainer with the standardbreds. He's with Eddie, who's a great guy, and does a good job with the thoroughbreds, and he can afford to do what he's doing without taking anything away from his family. Okay, let's go.
Questions down there.
Oh, Jimmy says we got some questions. We'll get to them. All right, Sundance. That's from being on Tommy Sticks. Tommy Sticks is the guy that yells at me all the time for not paying attention. Steve, good evening, guys. Good evening, Steve. Okay, Stephen Tester. Larry, did you ever race at Rockingham or Foxborough? Any good Green Mountain betting stories? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How much time?
Yeah, we don't have we could be here until Sunday if I start with that.
Larry, where's Rockingham?
Rockingham is in New Hampshire.
Foxborough's in New England?
Foxborough,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Green
Massachusetts.
Mountain was in Pinal, Vermont. Green Mountain was in Pinal, Vermont, and it was owned by the Rooneys. I think the Rooneys owned Green Mountain, right?
They did have a
Yeah, the Rooneys, the people that own Yonkers, own Green Mountain, and Green Mountain. I told a couple of these stories a couple of weeks ago, but yeah. And there was a crew of guys. Rockingham, I went up there one year with Mike Gagliotti. I really didn't like Rockingham. It was very cold and very windy, and it was I didn't like Rockingham. But Mike went up there a lot, and but Green Mountain, that place that was in Pinal, Vermont, skiing area, and the track when it thawed out, it became like 2 feet of mud, and I'm not exaggerating. And they used to float the track with 2 big tractor tires chained to a tractor, and that's how they floated the track. And in fact, it was Vinny Ferreira's brother who called me up, and I think, and he told me a story which I repeated that night, that Vinny once drove a horse. He made him. Oh, I don't know what it was. Anyway, he won the race in 2:29, and I had a similar story at Mr. Spindletop. I won a race in 2:30 or something like that. But the only way, their purses were $800, $600. The only way that you could make any money there was every once in a while, at least once a night, everybody get together and set up a race. And it's. I know for some of you it's like a mortal sin, but it was a matter of survival. And you just set up a race. Everybody get a ticket on a trifecta or exacta. You know, you make yourself $200-300 for the night, and that was just how you survived. And that's how you survived at all the smaller tracks. You know, every racetrack was not like the Meadowlands or Yonkers or Roosevelt. They had $400, $500, $600 purses at some of these places, and it was very, very tough. And then were the years when Tannenbaum threw me out, and I went to all of these tracks, living in tack rooms, living with the horses, killing pigeons to eat, and bran mashes. It was tough. So it wasn't hard to sit in the track kitchen at 6 o'clock in the morning and looking at a program, and you're at a table with 5 or 6 other drivers, and you start talking, say, you like your horse, and before you know it, you come up with a plan, you execute the plan, and you create a diversion in the grandstand by letting information out or giving a bet to somebody that everybody knows, and they think you're betting on the one horse. In the meantime, the one horse is dead, and that's how you made your money. Sometimes it happened 2 times a night, sometimes 3 times a night. It wasn't hard to get these guys involved, because when you're racing for a $600 purse, and you finish first, you get $300. As the driver, you get 5% of the $300. That means you get $15 if you're the winning driver of the race. And 90% of the time, when you put the $15 on the bill, you never got paid. So it was only recently that the racetracks start taking that commission money out of the purse before they gave it to the owner, because back then they didn't do that, and you never got paid. So you race, and if you won 3 races that night, you might win $80 for the night after winning 3 races. It was a joke. And what about the guys that finished second and third? If you finished second and third, you made $5. Anyway,
David Guy.
How did your horse do at Buffalo last week? Who had a horse at Buffalo? Did nobody here had a horse at Buffalo?
No.
Who had a horse at Buffalo? No, I don't know if you mean Manny. Manny had a horse at Saratoga.
Had a horse in Saratoga.
Yeah, Manny had a horse in Saratoga. Unbelievable mile on a bad track. Got parked to the quarter, this is a 3-year-old filly, right? Got parked at a quarter in 26 seconds.
3-year-old filly. Yep.
Cut the rest of the mile, and got beat by a lip right at the wire by a horse that sat in the pocket and went through the passing lane. The last step just got beat. How fast? 152, 153? What was it? How fast they go, man?
153.
153. Unbelievable. Really nice horse.
153.
Yeah, the purse was what, 150,000, something like that? It's a sire stake. But we had no horse racing.
175.
175,000?
I won up in 175, but that horse, the sire stake up in Buffalo, I won that sire stake up in Buffalo too.
Oh, that's what he asked about. Oh, I didn't know
Same
you had a horse in Buffalo.
No, but I think he was I think he meant to say Saratoga, but the same horse did race in Buffalo, and I was in a 4-horse field and we won.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Steve, the other night when you and Freddie were on with Manny, you were discussing why thoroughbred and harness horses don't race on the same surface. Wouldn't the sulky wheels sink on a thoroughbred track? Absolutely. It'd be like racing on a beach. But that's not the only reason why standardbreds race on a billboard racetrack. They race on a billboard racetrack, and I think I mentioned it that night, because it's an artificial gate, even though the trot is not an artificial gate, but it really is when it comes to racing, because even though a trot is a natural gait, it's a natural gait up to 20 miles an hour, because first there's walk, then there's a trot, and the trot goes up to 20, and right after a trot, they go into a gallop, and then they go up to their natural speed, which is maybe 35, 40 miles an hour. But to keep a horse on the trot, that takes training, balance, and knowing what you're doing as far as rigging goes. So that could be done on a surface that's maybe 3 inches deep. On a billboard racetrack, because to get them to that point where they don't, at 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, they don't break into a gallop. You need balance, you need weight, you need rigging. There's a lot of things that make a horse trot, and you can't accomplish that on a deep surface, because many times when a horse trots at 35, 40 miles an hour, when they're used to trot and they were born to trot at maybe 20, 25 miles an hour, they start hitting their shins, they start hitting their knees. And then what a trainer has to do at that point is start with the shoes, with the rigging, with the tipping, with the weight. There's a lot of things that have to be done. And swedges and grabs are and weight is very, very important in getting a horse, a standardbred, to go from 20 miles an hour and not break into a gallop to go into 35, 40 miles an hour. And they couldn't do it on the deep racetrack. They have to do it on a billboard racetrack, because the standardbred shoes, now they're different, because now the breed is so perfected that they're born to trot 40 miles an hour. But back in the 50s, 60s, 40s, and 70s, when all the trotters and paces wore full suede shoes, and they were for a reason, because the swedge is what filled with dirt, and dirt on dirt creates a grabbing action, and you can get a horse off his knees or off his shins just by shoeing half rounds, half swedge, and on and on and on and on. It's too complicated. The people that don't know wouldn't understand, so there's no sense in me going into it. Where the thoroughbred is just a natural gait. They're just running as fast as they can, and because they have 110, 120 pounds on their back, they make it a 3-inch surface, and the basic for that is after 3 inches, they just about hit the base of the track, and that springboards them up. They go heel. When they land on their heel, then flat, then toe. The toe sinks in right to the base of the racetrack, and they springboard up. So that's why thoroughbreds can race on a 3-inch, 4-inch racetrack and not standardbreds. So I hope that answers your question, Steven. On
Yeah.
to the next one.
But Larry, before you go on there,
Go
if you
ahead.
try to put a thoroughbred on a harness track, he would go lame.
No, he wouldn't, because
No.
let me just say this. When I when I when I was barred from racing, I was on at Gateway Farms, and I had a couple of thoroughbreds. Now, Gateway Farms is not so you're training; it's a standardbred racetrack. I trained these thoroughbreds. I started off with them on the equicizer, and then I went from the equicizer into the swimming pool, and then from the swimming pool broke them to a jog cart and trained them. I trained probably 5 thoroughbreds and never left Gateway Farms. Raced them, shipped them to Alan Sewell's barn at Monmouth Park, and raced every one of them. And I trained them to a jog cart, just like a standardbred, and every one of them that I started at Monmouth Park won. And they never. The only time they ever raced on the thoroughbred track was when I shipped them over there. Now, to muscle them up a little bit, I kept them in the equicizer for maybe a half hour, 40 minutes at top speed. From the equicizer, and the equicizer was maybe 6 inches deep in sand. So that muscled them up. From there, I went into the swimming pool for 20 minutes. And then after the swimming pool, harnessed them up and jogged them for another couple of miles just to bring them down nice and easy. And not one ever had a problem. Not one went lame because of that. In fact, one day, Alan's exercise rider came to the farm, and I says, "Look, I'm gonna put this horse in the pool. Why don't you jog this horse around?" Because he liked to jog. Same thing with Mike McCarthy. They love to sit in the jog cart and go around. And he says, "Oh, you can't go on a track with this. You'll break them down. You'll break them down." And I says, "Just go." And that's the opinion of everybody that they're gonna break down. Now, probably if you race them at 40 miles an hour with a jockey on their back, I'm sure that maybe something might happen, even though I have my doubts. But I know that the thoroughbred's feet are half of what standardbred feet are, and the only reason I wouldn't do that, and the only reason I jog them jog them slow on a standardbred track, is because thoroughbred's feet, the wall is half as thick. They have very, very weak feet compared to a standardbred, and even the nails that you shoe them with, they're half the size, they're half the length, half the width, and their feet are just different. That's the weakest part. The feet are the weakest part of any racehorse, especially a thoroughbred. And most secondary most problems that they think are primary problems are really secondary problems caused by the primary problem, which is the feet. So just remember that from the time a horse is born, any problem after that probably stems from the feet getting off of one foot or putting all the weight behind or vice versa, however. But the feet are the most important thing. 90% of the thoroughbreds out there today are quick, or the shoes are being stayed on by miracles. And that's why every horse I ever raced had glue-ons on. And that's why me and Ian McKinley became good friends. But before I met Ian McKinley, who is the master at glue-ons and quarter crack patches, I was patching my own in the late 50s and 60s. The first horse I ever had was a horse called Siskiyou Song. He had 2 quarter cracks, and I bought a fiberglass kit from Sears and Roebuck and patched the foot myself. Naturally, I cut the crack out, let it dry out and everything, and then I patched it. But So that I'm not saying that it's a fallacy that thoroughbreds can't race on a billboard racetrack because their feet would be the first thing that gave out, not a broken bone or not anything like that. The feet would be the ones that just shattered because of the walls that are very, very thin. And the strength of a foot is a round foot. That's the strength. Many horses don't have a complete round foot. They have an oblong foot. When you have an oblong foot, the strength is in the toe, and the side walls are elongated and they're very, very thin. And that's what a round foot, the wall is even all the way around. And that's why thoroughbred, if you race on a hard racetrack, their feet would just probably explode rather than breaking any kind of bones or anything like that. Okay. I don't know if I explained this stuff right.
Larry, I want to talk.
What?
Larry, I want to talk to this doctor that said you're losing your memory. I think he's losing his memory.
No,
You
no,
just
no.
gave us an explanation
Yeah, but I didn't even explain
from A to Z.
I know what I want to say. I know what I want to do. I just don't. You see, the problem is I never had to explain it. I knew what I had to do. The only time I ever had to explain it was that time when Mike McCarthy bought that horse from Alan Jerkins, a 4-year-old maiden, and I mean, I patched all the quarter cracks and put glue on, and he was very, very interested. Mike was like a sponge. He wanted to learn everything. And I took the horse from Delaware Racetrack from my Winsky's barn. I brought him to Gateway. And Mike came from Delaware every morning, and he watched me how I did it. And I patched every one of them quarter cracks. And, well, I forgot why I was telling that story, but
Moving on.
moving on. Okay.
Mike McCarthy.
What's true?
Larry, Mike McCarthy is Trevor McCarthy's son?
His father. Trevor McCarthy is
his father.
Son of Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy was my good friend, and he was a leading rider in Delaware for 9-10 years, and prior to that up at Finger Lakes. Okay, Francis says Juicy. I don't know if you mean the Juicy that I'm going to have, but I'm going to have Juicy son on the podcast. And actually, if you mean the Juicy, I mean you know who he is, and it's going to be a little twist. We're going to go from horses to the mob, and so that'll be interesting. I'm invited to his 95th or 96th birthday party. He just come out of jail. He spent over 47 years in jail. Juicy did, and his son was my co-host for the first 30 podcasts that I did. And the reason I asked his son to join me was because when I started my book out, the first chapter of my book involved Tommy Lucchese, which is the Lucchese crime family. And so it was going to be like a mob type thing because the mob genre was very, very big back then, a couple of years ago when I first started. So I had Juicy come on to verify a lot of the stories about his father and his involvement in the mob, his involvement in taking over the unions in Jersey. And but then after we went through the whole book, there was no reason for him, then I was going to end it. But I think, Francis, if you mean Juicy, he won't come on, but he don't like us. He's one of them old-fashioned mob guys. He don't want to talk about nothing. In fact, we talked about him too much because he warned me and his son. He says, always use the word alleged. Always use the word alleged. But sometimes Jimmy went a little overboard. But anyway. Okay, Sundance. Larry, why don't you tell them how you used to make poor D cry? Poor D. Larry got in a fight. D was screaming and crying. He couldn't make me cry. I would just smile. I knew he was bonkers. D was another girl that worked for me, and every time I would get upset, she was one of the best grooms I ever had. Every time I get upset, she would cry, and I would get upset because if everybody knows that my barn, and I have some pictures that I put up, that my barn was every trunk was 7 inches from the back wall. If you looked at the first trunk, every one looked like there might be 30 in a line, but they looked like one. Everything was perfect, and every trunk had every piece of equipment you need for that horse, from hoof picks to brushes to curry combs, the blankets, the whatever it was. And if I opened up a trunk and there was one thing missing, I would turn the trunk over. As soon as I turned the trunk over, D would start crying.
Turn the light on.
And one time I had a couple of fights on the racetrack, and D would in fact, the reason I stopped being a jerk was I just can't handle stupid, and sometimes that some of these guys, whether they be grooms or trainers, they just say stupid things, and then you almost, if you don't say nothing, I think in my head, this guy thinks I'm an asshole because I didn't respond. So it's nice to say, just keep quiet and walk away. He's an asshole, but it's tough for me to do. I today still every once in a while I think of one or two things, and the one thing I think about the most is I got barred in 1984 for something I didn't do. I got barred for life in 1984. It cost me over $60,000 in cash just to get a meeting with somebody that might be able to help me. And I did it. The reason I got barred was because I wouldn't give up four drivers in a particular race. But that happened a month after the race. The race, Charles Slutsky had died. He sold the racetrack to, I forget the crew, it was from Buffalo, I think, or Boston. And they put a guy called Joe Landau in charge. And Joe Landau just wouldn't he started an investigation. He couldn't get to the bottom of it. And he called me in, and he asked me, he says, you bet this race. And anyway, I failed to cooperate your investigation. So he barred me. And I wasn't in the race. I had nothing to do with the race. But here's the moral of the story. I appealed. They barred me for life. Now, at that time, I was training over 100 horses. I had a barn I just bought for $1 million at Sunshine Meadow, Sunshine Meadows, and had Bradbury breaking all the 2-year-olds for me. And I had horses. I had 30 horses at Meadowlands. I had horses all over the place, and I was doing very well. And Joe Landau ruined everything for me. So anyway, we're in court, and he refused to drop the charge. He just wanted to push this thing ahead. And he blackmailed the teller who cashed my ticket. I might as well tell you the story because you're not going to understand it. I was at the racetrack. After my father died, I used to take my mother to the racetrack every Sunday. I take her to Monticello. I was into the Meadowlands. I drive up to Monticello. I take my mother to the racetrack. And when I took my mother to the racetrack, it was on a Sunday afternoon for lunch. One Sunday, a kid comes up to me that used to work for me, a prominent driver. I won't mention his name. And he says to me, he used to work for me for years, him and his family. And he says, are you going to be here for the last race? So I says, I don't know why. He says, well, here, bet these numbers. They fixed the last race trifecta. So I says, okay, thanks. And he went. He was in the last race. So now my mother, who's completely innocent, don't know nothing about betting or nothing, just a good old lady. The last race comes. The 8th race is over. The last race is about to come on the track. I asked the waitress for the check. So I says, come on, Ma, let's go. She says, very innocently, aren't you going to bet? Didn't that boy tell you to bet these horses? Aren't you going to bet? You told the boy you was going to bet. She didn't even know what she was talking about. I says, all right, Ma. She says, it's not right that you said you were going to be here. It's not right. It's not nice to lie. So I says, all right, Ma. So I go to the window. He gave me four numbers. I boxed the four numbers in the trifecta. So the trifecta, it comes in. The favorites, the first, second, and third choice finish 8th, 7th, and 6th. The number comes back a little short. I think it come back like 1,300 or something. It should have been 13,000. So I cashed the ticket right at the window, real quick. As soon as it got official, I cashed it and I said, "Let's go." And I wanted to get out of here because I always parked my car in valet. They all knew me in valet, and they would have my car, right there running. If I didn't go down there, I'd block up all the valet. So I says, "Come on, Ma, let's go." So for 3 weeks, every Sunday I went up there, nothing. Finally, the fourth week, track security comes, this guy Joe, who I got the job for 20 years earlier, and he says, "Larry, they want to see you upstairs." I says, "About what?" And I've been around a long time, and I says, "Joe, don't get me in these fucking traps." They, no, they just want to ask you something, and no problem. So I go upstairs, and who's upstairs in the office? The state police, the commission, harness track security, and Joe Landau. So they asked me, "Did you bet the race?" I'll make this real short. "Did you bet the race?" I said, "What the fuck do I know?" I said, I said, "You guys know me. I bet every race my whole fucking life. How do I know what I bet 4 or 5 weeks ago? I don't know." But however, they says, "Okay, well, then we just need a professional opinion." So they make me just watch this race so we could put this thing to bed. I watched the race. They showed me the race. I says, "It looks good to me." I says, "What do you expect from these guys? The track was muddy. You scraped it. It was hard as a rock. There are 3,000 claimers. Half of them don't even belong racing. So, and because the favorites got beat, you want to make a big stink?" So I says, so then they said, "You bet the race." I says, "I don't remember." And then they says, "We'll have an investigation." Anyway, they barred me for failing to cooperate during investigation. Now, I go to court. I have the hearing. I lose the hearing. I have another hearing with an administrative judge. She rules in my favor. The Racing Commission has the right to overrule the administrative judge. I lose. They bar me. Now, I give up. I give up all the horses I had. I had 7 owners. I give up maybe a total of 60 racehorses, probably 30 or 40 2-year-olds that I had at Sunshine Meadows. And I wind up fighting this, losing in 3 different states because the reciprocity, they bar you from Yonkers, Roosevelt, every track bar. So I had to fight for 3 different racetracks. By the time I lost all the cases and filed for appeals and everything else, I lost my barn, I lost the horses, I lost 7 homes, and I was penniless. Now, while this was going on, I'm at the courthouse, and I'm talking with the lawyer across the street in the parking lot, and who comes walking down but Joe Landau, the motherfucker who started this whole thing for no reason. And he comes down, and I told the lawyer, I said, "Just step back so there's room so he could pass through," because I was just gonna clock him. And the lawyer stopped me from doing it. Because he stopped me from doing it, I still have nightmares about it today. I wanted to hit that guy so bad, and when he was down, if I had a sledgehammer, I would have crushed his skull in. He's another one like Tannenbaum who ruined my whole fucking life for no reason at all. 2 bad fucking decisions against me when I didn't do nothing. I did 3 zillion things wrong in my life, never got caught. And for 2 things that I didn't do, destroyed my whole fucking life. Anyway, I don't know why I told that story, but I told it.
Moving right along.
Moving right along. Sundance. Hi, Manny. Okay, you got another fan, Manny. Okay, Dave McKenna. Mr. Rolla. Last night, baseball had an all-star game. If there was a driver all-time all-star race with 10 starters, would you include Jack Mosey? Absolutely. Yes. He was really good. When it gets to these guys, it's very, very hard to pick because there's diamonds in the rough at every racetrack that you never even hear of. But for the ones that made it to the big time, that made it up here, Jack would be one of them. It's very, very hard to. These guys I mean, how do you exclude a Catello Mancy? How do you exclude a John Campbell or a Billy O'Donnell or a Dave Miller or Andy Miller or Ronnie Pierce or Benny Webster or Michael LaChance? Or how do you exclude these guys? They're great, they're fearless, and they have and Hervé. And in fact, Michael LaChance, we were talking for. He called me this morning, and we were talking for about a half hour on the phone. I was in an Uber on my way to Manhattan. I had a meeting, and we were talking, and Hervé and Michael said something. Maybe I shouldn't repeat it because Hervé was great, but he has family that's still around, and he has a son. So, but it's sad how it ended. One of the most talented guys is a trainer, not only as a driver but as a trainer. It was sad how he ended. But anyway,
Larry,
yes,
give us your top 5 drivers.
I can't. I can't because they're just good. Even like this kid that left, he was great. Jimmy Morell's kid. What's his name? The Morell kid.
Morel Jr.?
JP's son, the kid that went up to Buffalo that was racing here at the Meadowlands. Morell, you don't know the kid? Anyway, I raced with his father, but this kid was so good. Sundance, if you remember his name, you got to remember his name. Anyway, he left the Meadowlands, and he could drive with the best of them, but he left the Meadowlands because Campbell and O'Donnell were getting first choice, DeMille getting Catello, and the horses that he was on, because he showed up late, he would get fourth, fifth, and sixth choice. And he drove just as well as all the rest of them, but never given a horse that could win. So he wound up going back up to Buffalo, where
You're talking about Jim Morel Jr. He still drives.
Yeah, Jimmy Morell Jr. You're right. That's who I'm talking about. Jimmy Morell Jr.
He was big. He was big in the Sire Stakes program. He used to travel with the Sire Stakes program, and he was on every live horse out there.
Right. They put him because a lot of these guys driving at the Meadowlands wouldn't go for the Sire Stakes, the New York Sire Stakes. Maybe it wasn't enough money, maybe because they were on every live horse at the Meadowlands in every 10 races a night. So why would they go to Saratoga for a $30,000 purse? So, but Morell did it, and he become the king of that. Him and I think Hennessy. But anyway, I couldn't name it because, like I said, there's diamonds at the rough. But the ones that were here, and a couple of weeks ago, I named the 4 things that a driver has to have, and one is you got to be born with it, natural talent. And if you're born with natural talent, then and the talent is in a competition, then the next thing is skill. Skill you learn through experience and time and everything else, and then you have to learn. You got to have a lot of guts. It ain't easy going into that first turn to 35, 40 miles an hour when your wheels are inches apart, and you got to make these split-second decisions. And it's not only you steering a car; it's a horse that basically has a mind of his own. And even though you're steering to the left, he may see a wheel or a disc or something come up and jump sideways. All of these things happen, and you got to have a lot of guts. And there was a picture that I put up last week of Jack Mosé when he was 20 years old. At Freehold, he broke a line. He hopped right up from the bike, right up onto the horse's back, and pulled the horse and stopped a major accident from happening. So you got to have a lot of things going for you, and if you're missing one of them qualities, you're never going to make it. So I could never name 3 guys, 5 guys. I know that if I had my choice, I would probably pick, if everybody was available, I would probably pick Michael LaChance is my first guy to go to. Not that he's any better or worse than Campbell or O'Donnell, but there's just something that's just my opinion. And then after Michael a chance, it could be, and all for different reasons. I mean, it all depends on what kind of horse it is and who else is in the race. And because Ronnie Pierce is completely fearless and a great driver with a great sense of pace. But all of them have a great sense of pace. All of them are fearless, and all of them are great drivers. So it's just a matter of preference. Michael a chance is just maybe because I met him when he first was a kid come from Canada at Lincoln Downs. It was me, Michael a chance, Bucky Day, and Henry Fillion, and we became very close. And he went on naturally to win 5 or 6, whatever he won, Hamiltonians. He won every race. I had him on the podcast here, and it took forever to list all his accomplishments. And he's just a great guy. Ronnie Pierce, I raced with his father. I raced with Ronnie's father up in Monticello when he was up there. Great driver, great horseman. He drank a little too much, and he produced Ronnie Pierce, who was Ronnie Pierce is a strange guy. He's very much like Billy Parker up at Monticello. They'd be more if you offered them a mansion to sleep in or a tree house, they'd pick the tree house, you know. And if you offered them a real good steak, they'd rather go out and shoot a deer and cook venison over a fire that they made. But on the racetrack, they were fearless. They were great judgment. And when you get a race, especially like at the Meadowlands, and you have 10 of these drivers with all the same qualities and talent, and you see these moves that they make. Sometimes they make 3 and 4 moves before the quarter pole, all strategic moves. And the ones that don't make the move, or maybe when you were the first one that made the move, you realize that, okay, now I'm fucked because now I'm sitting third, which is a dead seat. And but it's interesting for me just to watch these races and how they go and how you try to sucker the guy out so you're not first over. And when you understand racing, when you've been in the game and you've been a driver, you can understand the position that they're in and why they make certain moves, and it's that's why it's impossible to pick these. But Jack Mosé would definitely be one of the 10. Okay, let's go.
It's a Sundance show.
Sundance, you're dominating.
Yeah.
Larry, if I told them all the stories, I would have to write a book. I already did that, Sundance. Okay. Sundance. Larry, explain to them how important shoeing is, especially then the angles had to be right toe weights. This is the most. I already did that, Sundance. I went through it. There's a whole lot more to talk about, but we're going to continue with.
Yeah, you got a lot of comments here, Larry. You got to catch up.
Yeah, I know. All right, Sundance trotters. Okay, mostly trotters, not pacers. Sundance. Larry, what am I allowed to tell them? Just be careful, Sundance. Just be careful. Be. Tell them whatever you want. I don't care. Just tell them about me. Don't mention no other.
Oh, there
name.
goes Francis again.
Francis, do you acknowledge us, champ? Doing a great job. Yeah, Francis.
Francis, all right. Thank you.
Francis has a great smile, Larry, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's a pretty girl, and she's Italian too. Yeah. Okay. Larry, it's not because you don't remember. You just don't care about the doctor. I don't know what you're talking about, Sundance. Hold on, I got another phone call. Hello. It's going great. I'm in the middle of a podcast, but I picked up your call anyway. Okay, tell him if I don't answer, which I won't if his name don't come up, tell him to text me and then I'll call him back. Bye. Bye. That was Don and Dina. They have a friend of theirs that has cancer and they want to be hooked up with the doctor that I talk about, that with the ivermectin. So I had to take that call. I knew it was about that. Okay, harness racing is more involved. You do all the work on the horses with the pinheads. They have 4 or 5 different people work on them. Okay, be nice, Sundance. Francis, surround yourself with the right Manny. Stay in the
people,
game.
Manny.
Right people, Manny. Right people. Manny knows that. Let me tell you something about Manny. He's half my age, extremely successful in what he does. And from what I understand, from the short time I know him, he's involved in 2 or 3 other businesses that are extremely successful. He comes from a modest family. He wasn't born into nothing. He created everything he has himself, and he's surrounded by extremely important, smart, wealthy people. So there's not much we could teach Manny. In fact, I wish I knew Manny 40 years ago. I'd be worth millions.
He was in kindergarten.
Yeah. Okay, New Hampshire. I don't know what that means, Sundance.
We're way behind.
Oh, we're way behind. Larry,
did
you?
Rockingham an hour ago.
Okay. Okay.
That's what that is.
Did you like racing at Vernon? I raced at Vernon 1 year. I didn't like it. Okay, Francis. Eddie has a horse at Saratoga past Saturday. Eddie just called me before, and he apologized for last night because he blacked out or something happened. He didn't know what happened. But he told me that I think he has this 2-year-old racing this Saturday, I think, up at Saratoga. I'm not sure. He told me, and I forgot what he said. But I know he has a 2-year-old that he likes very much. The only problem, Eddie, you see what happens with Eddie? He claims a horse. He finds out immediately the problems. He's great at that. He recognizes the problem. He knows how to treat the problem. And then he jumps the gun. He instead of taking advantage of what he fixed that nobody knows and race him back in the same class, he moves him up. And that's the only thing, and I shouldn't be saying this because that's Eddie's business, but I'm going to say it anyway because I would tell it to him, and I told it to him. Why you moving? All right, you fixed this, you fixed that. You had a quarter crack that you passed. You trained like a monster. Put him back in the same class. You were the only one that put a claim in on him. Everybody knows the horse. They know what he is. You're the only one that you didn't have to shake for the horse. You got him. Put him right back in the same class. Win by 5 lengths, cash a good bet, make your owner happy, and then raise him up. But I don't know.
They force you. The law then required to move them up at 20%.
So Jimmy's telling me that you have to do that. You have to raise them 20% after a claim. Is that it?
Okay. 30 days.
So once again, I run my fucking mouth when I don't know what I'm talking about.
We all do
Okay.
it.
Okay, Francis, a lot of scratches Saturday. I don't know, Francis. I don't know because
this past Saturday, there was one day that
okay, now we have 2. Look at this. We have 2 Mannies on the screen. I don't know what he did, but he's the only one that
twin brother.
The only one time that this ever happened. I got 2 Mannies on the screen. I don't know how he did that, but anyway, I'm not going to hit no buttons because I'll screw up the whole thing.
There we go. You fixed it.
Okay, do maidens do well on turf? I really can't answer that. I've been out of business for 20 years, 30 years, and so I'm really not qualified to answer that. But I would think that, in my opinion, if every horse could race on a turf course, they'd all be better off. And I don't see why a maiden wouldn't like a turf course. But now the breeding is such that they breed for grass. They breed for dirt. Grass horses have certain characteristics like big flat feet that for turf horses. So basically, if you based on if you didn't know anything about the horse and you just looked at him, you could tell from the way his back is angled uh, uh, and his feet that he'd probably be a good turf horse. But now they're bred for the turf, and they're bred for the turf, and they race better on the turf. And based on their conformation and their feet, they'd be better on the turf than on the dirt.
Question for Manny.
Okay, here's a question for Manny. Dave Guy says, Manny, when will your horse be at Vernon Downs? How will she do on a bigger track?
I don't think she raced at Vernon, but I did have a trotter that just raced at Vernon. I have a good trotter too. I'm trying to think what happened at that race. She'll be okay. She'll be good on a bigger track too. But she's better on a half-mile track. She's definitely a half-mile track horse. That race that we were in, Larry, the 6-horse that when we looked at the race, remember I sent you the program? The 6-horse, remember you said the 6-horse is going to go out for the lead, but they all left at the same time.
Yes.
So the 6 and 7 are two good horses. Not good horses, they're great horses. But we left so strong that they had to find a hole, because if they didn't find a hole, they were out, whatever. But I would say that she's a half-mile track horse, and the 6-horse, if that was at Vernon, we would have had a problem, because the 6-horse is a big track horse.
Yeah. Well, what your driver did that was great was he completely intimidated the outside horses from leaving. Even though both of them were speed horses, he just let them know right out of the gate that take a seat, fellas, because I'm going to the front and that's where I'm staying. He basically intimidated them. And the best position, in my opinion, to leave the gate is from the 5-hole. You're right with the car. There's no wing, there's no bounce, and no nothing, and you just follow the car right out. So the 5 position is the best position to leave from, and that's what you had. Okay, we got to. What's this? Okay. Josh Foster. This show is great. Well, thanks, Josh. I wonder if he was ever here before. I don't recognize the name, but I don't recognize the name because I never looked at the comments. So I don't recognize.
We got a whole bunch of hellos that we could.
All right,
we're gonna everybody saying hello to everybody.
All right, here's Kelly, and I found out last time that that's not the Kelly I know, but hello, Kelly. Okay, here goes the whole thing. Yeah. Rick Simon. Okay, here goes the social club.
There we go.
Okay, we're gonna pass by on and on and on. Hello, Rick. Hello, Francis. Hello. We're gonna go bypass all of these. Let's see this. Love it, Larry. Looking forward to that one. I don't know which one now because we passed about 15.
Here's
15. Okay. Let's see. What's this one? Wait a minute. Isn't Juicy's son sitting to your right now? No. Sounds like him. The guy on the first few. No. That. In fact, you're half right because Juicy's son, his name is Jimmy, and the guy sitting on my right now is Jimmy, but they're two different guys.
It means the guy behind the curtain.
Okay, both of them have very, very interesting stories. Okay, Sundance, this is the truth, 100%. From the back, 7 inches from the back. Yeah. That's what she's talking about, how my trunks were. This is the 100% truth, 7 inches from the back wall. Then he would come out with a string. Joe G said, you must have been a pain to work for. He had no idea. But after work, we would always have fun. Yeah. After work in Florida, I had a big house. I built a house right on the golf course at Inverary, and I had a big pool. And every Sunday, I would have big barbecues and invite everybody over. Then they had a place called Mother Butler. She had Mother Butler pies. I would go in there. They had the best pies. I would buy 15 or 20. I buy every pie, the apple crumb, every pie that they made, and I bring them, and we would barbecue hamburgers, French fries, and all of that stuff, and then we would have to, and then everybody go in the pool, and I did that the whole time in Florida, and then when we come to Monticello, that was a different story. I just had everybody living with me, but I would never be home. I'd be out in the racing and then to the nightclubs, to the Concord or the Raleigh. Okay, we're gonna go right down. What's this one? James? Did you ever make enough money in 1 week to pay? This is the same, James, the same guy. You asked me. I will answer it. I will answer it again, and then I'm not gonna. Don't ask me this no more. I had to come up as far as Cabert goes. I owe two people close to $700,000. I was paying 2 points on the money. That come to roughly $15,000 a week. Cabert, I owed half of that too. So Cabert had to get $7,500 every week. And I owed him 300, I think it was 370,000, something like that. And 2 points on that money was come to 7,500. But I owed him like 370,000, something like that. So your question is, did I ever make 370,000 to pay him off in 1 week? The answer is sometimes I did, but the problem I had was at that time I was with Dr. Burton, the man, and I won't go through that whole story, but he's the first guy that found the cure for cancer. I supported him. I got him with the Bahamian government. We built a clinic down there. And I must have sent every week 4, 5, 6 people down there. And I'm sure Sundance can tell you this. In my trailer, in my home, back then I had a double disc answering machine with 2 tapes in it. And I'd come home every night and there'd be people on there saying, I heard about what you did for your cousin. I have a child, he's 3 years old. He has leukemia. They give him months to live. And then you get 15, 20 calls like that. And I was sending these kids down there at $10,000, $15,000 a pop. So every week I would try to send 3, 4 kids down there. It's tough to hear a parent crying on the phone wanting to save their son. And I had the guy that could save him. So even if I made $500,000, I would send as many kids as I could down there. Plus, I rebuilt the church in Monticello. I did a lot of stuff. So there were times when I did make enough money to pay off Cabert completely. But what do you do? There was a time. I just told a story tonight to my next door neighbor. Just tonight when I was walking the dog and it started to rain, so I ran on his porch. He was sitting outside. And I told him the story. I told him the story. Oh my God, I forgot what the hell I was saying. What was I just saying?
About paying Cabert.
Oh,
did you ever have enough money to do it?
See how I get, folks? You see, these pills are not working. I'm right in the middle of a story, and I completely forgot why the hell I was telling the story. But anyway, I did make enough money a few times to pay, but here's what I was going to say. There was a time when I had to pay every Monday, the thing, and there was a time when I had a choice I had to make. I had just enough money to make the payment, because don't forget, I had to pay 2 guys. I had to pay Barney Cutler and Barney. And I had about 18,000. So I was okay. But then I went home and I listened to my answering machine. And there were 4 or 5 kids that the mother was a personal friend of my cousin who started this whole thing, who was diagnosed with cancer, given less than 3 months to live. And she was the first one I sent to Dr. Burton. And through word of mouth, and before you know it, I was getting hundreds of calls every month. So the last bunch of calls I got that night were friends of my cousin. And my cousin called me up. She says, yeah, there's a really nice lady, neighbor. So I took the money that I had to give to Bert, and I paid for them. And then and then I had I needed 15,000, and I can't tell the story because I promised the person I would never tell the story, so I can't tell the story. But I had 3,000 left, and I had a horse in that night, and I was second best in the race in my opinion. And he was going to be 6-7 to 1. So I bet the 3,000 on my horse, hoping that I could beat this other horse. And don't forget, at the Meadowlands, they were the best drivers, the best horses, and I wound up winning the race. But had I lost that race, I may not have been here because Bert was just a madman. But I won the race, and that's why a lot of people ask me, "You've been in the business so long, you have a great reputation as a trainer, as a driver, and this and that. How come you didn't win 10, 15,000 races?" And my answer is I won the races I had to win, and I lost the races I had to lose, and we're going to leave it at that.
Moving right along.
And when your life is on the line, and you have to win a race where you're second or third best, it's a lot more difficult and a lot more pressure than if you're in a $10 million race. I can tell you that. So I won the races I had to win, and I lost the races I had to lose. Okay.
A lot more hellos.
A lot more hellos. I don't know what 51 means, Kelly. Okay, let's move it along. Larry, what's this?
How's your night going?
How's your night going? It's going good so far. Larry has some really great stories from his life. This is a lot of wisdom being given. That's the only problem I have is I know what I want to say. I just don't know how to express it. So I don't know if you all grasp what I try to explain.
Guy.
Who's the cigar guy? Wait, Who?
He's asking if that Manny cigar.
Oh, man.
Rocky Patel.
Nope.
Manny.
My go-to cigar is a Padron 4000 Maduro. That's what I smoke every night. But throughout the day, I do smoke a Cuban here or there. But my go-to cigar is a Padron 4000 Maduro.
Very good.
Okay, so many great drivers. Picking a top 10 all-time is almost impossible. I agree, David. Okay, I have John Campbell, Jackie Moe, and Mike LaChance's Hamiltonian whips after they won. Good for you, Sundance. You have any of my whips?
A few whips.
Okay, Alex. Wally Hennessy is my guy now. Yannick Gingrich. Yeah, all good guys. I think Wally is Hennessy. He's up to 15,000 wins or 4,000. He's been around a long time.
Just rack up the wins.
Yannick will get there. He's more very, very aggressive. George Brennan, these young kids are very, very aggressive. Get the job done. Fearless. Okay, Sunday. It's too hard. All the drivers are good. Right. Jimmy Morrell Jr. Great. That's the guy I was talking about. Yeah. He belongs and probably will never make the Hall of Fame, just like a lot of other guys. But okay. How are you? I don't know what those. She's. Manny is enjoying his cigar and is great. It's a great choice for a co-host. Knows how to listen and to be able to give a solid input. Yeah, Manny only has one problem. And this is just my opinion. He could, and maybe it's, I don't know, but I heard him once say that he had a partner or he had a good friend as he was growing up to teach him, and says, you talk too much, listen more. You have 2 ears, listen more, and stop making friends with everybody. Manny is a very, very personal guy. He's very, very easy to like, and he talks and he talks and he talks. He's like who else is that like that? I forget. He just talks and talks and talks. And
Ronnie did pretty good last night.
who? Oh yeah, Ron, the guy we had on.
He
But-
didn't take a deep breath.
But the good thing about listening to Manny is and usually people that talk as much as Manny, you could trap them, and you could, and it's easy to qualify them. But with Manny, he talks a lot, but he talks the truth. No, but like I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, because I don't even know how to explain it the right way, and it's probably sounding bad, but I only mean it as a compliment. I'll give you one example. What I mean by qualifying people. I have an office, right? So a guy comes into the office, and he pages me at the stable gate. I go to the stable gate, I bring him to the barn. He says, "My name is so and so. We have a mutual friend, and I'm very interested in buying some horses." And I'd say, and this is what I mean by I listen, and then I qualify. It's like listening but verify. I listen and qualify. So the guy says, "Yeah, I'm interested in buying a couple of horses. I heard that you're really good at what you do, and you know, my kind of guy, and this and that and everything." And he says, I says, "Okay." I says, "What are you looking to spend? How do you want to get involved?" He says, "Oh, 20,000, 30,000." He says, I says, "Okay." I says, "When will you be ready?" He says, "I'm ready." I says, "Okay." And we talk a little bit more about bullshit and about friends and this and that. And then as he's leaving, he asked the question, and this was the giveaway. "You got 4 horses in tonight. You like any of them?" And I says, "Yeah." I says, I like 2 of them. And he says, "Okay, thanks." So I knew in my mind that's the primary reason he was here, because he had plenty of nights when I had no horses in to come, but he come on the night when I had 4 horses in, and all 4 looked like they could win. That's the day he comes. So now I give him the 2 horses. Both horses win. I call him up the next morning, and I says, "I found a horse for you." First he says, "Oh, hi, Larry." He says, "Jay, I did great last night. Thank you very much," and everything else. I says, "Good." I says, "I found 2 horses for you." I says, "So pick one of them. I like either one. I can't separate. One is for 30, one is for 40. He says, "Well," he says, "I'm not ready right now. I got to talk to my wife," and and that was it. I never heard from the guy again. This is what I mean by qualifying the guy. There's a million guys, and you find them in your life. I know this guy. I could do this. I could do this. I could do that. When you get to be my age, you heard every fucking story in the book. Every story in the book. There ain't nothing that you didn't hear, and nothing that you know. And sometimes when they ask me these, or they come on to you, it's like I'm saying to myself, "Does this guy think I was born yesterday? Does this guy think I'm a fucking asshole?" I mean, but you don't say that. You just go. But then you qualify it. And then you will live. Because if I didn't qualify all of these people, I'd have a Rolodex with 50 million names in it. So you got to qualify and you got to eliminate. And the one good thing about weed them out. The one good thing about being raised the way I was raised in the streets is that you get to be able to read people right away. And yeah, and sometimes you get fooled, but so far Manny has passed every test. So he talks the game, but he is the game. So it's like Pete Rose talking to you about how do you hit a baseball. You know, it's not bullshit. So that's how Manny is. So if I'm not explaining it right, I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean it in a positive way, that you walk the walk and you talk the talk, but it's for real. So that's what I meant.
Meanwhile, he wants to know if you like anything.
All right. Yeah. So anyway, you're right. Manny is enjoyable guy, and he. In fact, I'm gonna tell you something. Manny's on tonight. He's been on now. We've been on for an hour and a half. This is the only time since I know him that he didn't completely dominate the whole conversation. Because normally he talks and he talks, and all his stories are enjoyable. They're all exciting. And so far, he hasn't told the same story twice. And I'm sure he has many, many more. Okay, let's go on. We got to roll because there's a lot going on. Okay, let's mention what's this? I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I got a name from Manny, 3-year-old. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Here's one you're gonna want.
Okay.
Right in here.
Okay, so that's a name.
Larry, he's talking about when I first came on the podcast. Can you hear me now? Because I had the bad connection. That's why he's saying that.
Very good, Gary D. You remember when you had the phone out the window? Can you hear me now? Very good. I didn't catch that on. See how sharp he is?
Come down here.
Okay, let me get to which one? This one?
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, I guess that's it. Show.
Okay. Hey, Larry. Larry, how are you? I talked to Brenda Messenger, Gary Messenger's wife. She said that Jim Taggart, who is their stable driver, has had 2 rounds of chemo, went and doing very well. Okay, good. I know because I mentioned to him about if he wanted the information on the ivermectin and everything else. They never contacted me, so I mentioned it that he must be doing okay, and I'm glad he's doing okay, and good for him. And thank you, Michael. Okay, Larry, a friend of mine who has passed on, was into the horses. Do you mind if I mention his name? Not at all. Mention his name. So now we have to look for that.
Give me this.
Okay. Jimmy's taking over the thing here.
Yeah, Jimmy's the man behind the curtain.
Yeah. He's mixing me all up now.
Somebody said, did Larry make enough money? Larry probably made enough money to buy Monticello at one time.
What are you doing? Oh, I don't care. Oh, just go right through. Okay, Larry is a friend of mine. Passing. You mind if I mention his name? Mention his name. I don't care. Just be respectful in everything you do and everything you say. Don't get stupid or nasty. Okay, Larry, did you ever make enough money to pay? Okay, see this. Okay. Larry, did you ever make enough money? Okay. Larry, did you ever make enough money? Okay. Now you see, now see, Joe Garino told me, and I'm going to take his advice. I'm not going to say what I really want to say, but James, please. You asked this question 50 times. Now it's become, I don't know why you're doing it. It's becoming a joke. I'm asking you, please, stop the fucking bullshit. Just stop. We're all men here. We're fucking men. We're gentlemen. Stop being a fucking jerk off. You asked the same question 15 times. Just be nice, respectful, friendly, and just stop acting like a fucking asshole. Okay. Eric, someone is deleting my comments. It's not me, Eric. It's not me. And I'm the only one handling this thing here.
If I just stayed on it.
Oh,
I was looking to whack out nonsense.
Jimmy.
Eric, if there was something in there, please put it up again, and we'll look for it at the end.
That's Eric. Okay. He might have done it by mistake.
Yeah, if it was done, it was an accident.
Okay, you can see Manny has been in the game by his demeanor. Yeah. Okay. Eddie's 2-year-old.
Yeah, come down here.
Okay. Larry, yet he cannot put the horse back in the same class unless he was. Yeah,
That's
you're
about
right.
the.
Yeah, we were
the
talking
flag.
about that. You're right. They got to move them up 20%. You're right. You're right. You're right,
We're
Michael.
way behind.
We're way behind. There's hundreds of comments here. I'm trying to get to all of them, but I have
Here's
to go.
a good-
I have
Glenn,
to go. Yeah,
Glenn.
we're gonna get to that. I just want to go. We got to get through the whole. Larry, Eddie cannot put
No,
the horse
you
in.
just
Yeah,
read
we
that.
just read
And
that.
skip
Okay.
this one.
Skip this one?
Yeah, skip
That's
it.
the same. Larry, you make a. That's the same. James, I know you wrote this before I had the comment. Please, James. I never blocked anybody because I want to hear everybody out. I want to give everybody respect to listen. That's why I'm doing this thing tonight.
Come to the line.
But James, stop. Just stop. Don't be a fucking asshole.
Come down to the line.
Okay. Glenn, Larry, what is your opinion on the computer players constantly pounding horses down to ridiculous prices after the race starts? This has to drive away many. You're 100% right, Glenn. And
Right.
tomorrow night, I have Michael coming on that knows all about that stuff. And we will, I think we did a podcast about that. But if you could come watch tomorrow night, Michael's going to be on and just ask the same question tomorrow night, and Michael will answer it. I won't answer that. I'll wait for tomorrow. So if you could, Glenn, come back on tomorrow and ask the
You
same
might try
question.
to ask them to hit the like button.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, put your little like and subscribe thing up, Larry. You haven't done it tonight.
yeah. But
That's
look,
right.
look what I found. Look what I found. Let me see if I could do it without losing my place here. Watch this. Watch this move. Is this it?
I think so. It's saying that.
Where?
Up, see, it says like subscribe.
Yeah. Okay. So that means I have to eliminate that. Where the hell? Where was I? See, I lost the space. That's why, Larry. You think that I lost the space? I shouldn't have did that.
Oh, we can find. Want me to find it?
No, I'll find it. So we have to look for Glenn.
Yeah.
See what happens every time I try to do something? Oh, God. Let's see. No, oh, here it is. Okay.
So
All right.
and skip the next one. It's come back again. Come on. So just skip.
Let me see what he said. Make it up. James. Okay.
I'm not sure about this.
Protected from other ones. I'm doing okay. How are you? Bleak. Doing okay, Kelly. How are you? Mr. Rolla, thank you for the Jack Mose answer. Eddie has 3 in at Finger Lakes next week. 1 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, including the horse he calls the White Horse. White Wisdom. On Wednesday. I just spoke to Eddie. I don't really ask him about the horses, but he'll be on Tuesday. But you says he has them on next week. Well, I don't know. I can't answer that, but he'll be on Tuesday. So anything you want to ask him, he'll answer. Okay. I have a house in Ocala, Florida, not far from the equestrian world. I almost got into that business with the toxic stall. Because them people in that business, they spend millions and millions of dollars
Yeah.
and have a lot of horses.
One of
Okay, what kind of question is that? It's really a personal question.
It's talking about that guy that keeps asking you the same question over and over.
He's involved. He seems to be.
Okay. Okay. That's alone should be the question asked. Okay. Sundance. It's unbelievable how much Larry has done to help people. I miss Jimmy from the original podcast. Bring him back for one part. I am going to bring him back. I'm going to bring him back. I'm going to bring him back because We're going to talk about. I have a lot to talk to Jimmy about because he's going to be cast in my movie. He's like the person. So same thing like this guy here with Manny. He'd be. I got a special part for him. He'd be one of Kubert's guys that he'd be perfect for the part. He has the right accent. He has the right look. He has the right build. He has the right everything. And so you know. So okay, let's go here.
Yeah.
Okay, PM Anthony. Hi, Larry. Worked at Mr. Kadish's farm for 15 years. People should know he is no
He is and was.
he is was and will always be the richest man to ever own a standardbred red horse. Let me tell you something about Larry Kadish. The last time I spoke to him, I asked him for a loan. And he says, "What do you need?" I called him up. This is after I was barred. This is 1988. I called him up and I says, "Larry," I says, "I need a favor." So he says, "What is it?" I says, I need a loan." He says, "What do you want?" I says, 300 million. So he says, "What do you need it for?" And I told him what I need. I won't go into the whole story, but I told him what I needed it for. And he says, "Look," he says, when you got barred, when you lost your final appeal, I sold all my horses. I sold my business. I gave it to my kids. He says, and now all I do is travel the world. He says, I'm very heavy in politics, and I think this deal is too big for my sons, who are green in the business. They manage all my high-rise properties in Manhattan, and this deal out of state is too big for them. And I'm in Europe, and I'm sorry, but I can't help you. That was the last time I spoke with Larry Kadish. Larry Kadish, when I got barred in 86, I gave all my horses to Billy O'Donnell. And I told Billy, I said, "Billy," I says, "he's going to want to meet you. And you go to his farm in Old Westbury, and you'll go to the door. The door will be open, the screen door will be closed, and he'll ask you to come in. At his side will be a big black dog. And when you walk in, if the dog don't bite you, you're going to get the job. If the dog bites you or growls at you, you're not going to get the job." But Billy went, and the dog was good. But after a week, he said he was going to stop. He was going to stop training horses and just go to catch driving. So he gave all the horses to Teddy Wing. But you're right. And I miss, and Larry Kadish gave me the biggest opportunity of my life in 1981. He told me, he said to me, he says, "Come with me every afternoon." He owned all the properties that all the Kmarts were on, 2,600 properties. They had 2,600 stores. And he says, "Look for new properties, and I'll give you half of whatever we find, whatever I make on this." And we would find the properties. He'd build a whole community, and Kmart would put their stores on there. Very good, Manny. So, Larry gave me many opportunities to be very, very wealthy, and because things were going so well with me, and I had my own, I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I turned everything down, and when I asked him, I called him up one day, and I was building a house in Inverary right on the golf course. The builder comes to me and says, "Look, for 300,000, I could put a big Olympic-sized swimming pool in. I could put a jacuzzi in. I could put all dark windows in your house, special, all for 300,000 in cash." So I says, "Okay." So I called Kadish up and I says, "Larry," I says, "I need 300,000 for a month or two." And he says, "What's it for? That fucking house you're building in Everett? I'm building a mansion for you on my farm, and I want to build a." And anyway, he wound up giving me the money, but Kadish was a great guy, and had I take advantage of the opportunities he gave me, I'd be a very wealthy guy. But I thought that my run would never end, and I wanted to be my own guy and do everything myself, and I never took advantage. Anyway, Larry, is it okay if I mention a friend of mine who passed away? Yes. Okay. Okay. Would you ever know by tonight's show? You would never know by tonight's show. Sal. The beard originally from Brooklyn, then Staten Island. He was close to the top. He made it there. Okay. So now I see that this guy here, I don't want to say nothing. I'll just go. Anthony, please tell Freddie the horse that killed John Chapman, in my opinion, was a Kadish horse. It was a horse Kadish owned named Muckley Strike. He was an invitational horse that grabbed on like you wouldn't believe. I thought Chapman died.
He died at home.
I thought Chapman died at home. So
here's
I
an
don't
important
know.
one. Yeah, right there.
Okay, here we go. Here's Eddie.
You
I was
woke him up.
sleeping. I heard my name.
There goes Daddy.
Manny, Howie.
How were the piss
How are the
clams?
piss clams?
Oh, forget about it. I was talking to Eddie on the phone, and I went to the seafood place, and he heard me ordering, and I got a lobster bisque, I got a Manhattan clam chowder, and then I ordered 2 pounds of steamers, and Eddie told me, oh, my God, I would never eat those, because I said, Eddie, come over. I'll make them. You have them with me. He said he wouldn't eat them, but I love the steamers. He calls them piss clams.
Okay. Eddie, go back to sleep. Got to get up early. Okay. PM. Anthony, Larry, I will text you next week. I have a million stories about Kadish. Also tell O'Donnell, if you ever hear from him, Kadish never had Dobermans, only German Shepherds. I never said a Doberman. I said a big black dog. So maybe
You always have Anthony in front of you every time this
I don't know.
He's shady too.
All right, PM. Okay, Stephen Tester, Larry, you did a great training job on Wildwood Jeb, who won the cane pace. What was the breathing problem he had that you fixed? He was a big, strong horse who had he grab on terrible, and the more rigging you put on him, the worse he would get. He would fight every kind of rigging you put on him, and you couldn't control him. And by fighting with him, he would just get all wound up and excited. And through the racing, as he did as a 2-year-old, he started with massive bleeding problem. And because of the way he was, always fighting you, always trying to get away from the equipment. When I got him, his lungs were all infected. He had a tumor in his throat, and he had enough. He didn't want to be restrained. So what I did was I got rid of the tumor. I put him on oxygen, cleared up his throat, because the problem with bleed is they all bleed, and they have all the lower part of each lung, all them little blood vessels down there break, and nobody realizes that the blood supply down there is not good. That's first of all. So it takes a long time to heal, and if you don't treat it massively with antibiotics, they stay infected forever. And now what they do is they give them Lasix and everything else, and they never treat the primary problem. And that was with the problem with Wildwood Jet. So what I did was I just created a nebulizer put medication in there, put him on the nebulizer, hooked to oxygen, and I put him on for 15, 20 minutes a day. Got rid of the tumor in his throat, took all the rigging off him, everything off him, let him put his head down between his legs, and instead of jogging a 5-minute mile where you'd have to grab him, I let him go wherever he wanted to go. So he went like a 3-minute mile, but he was comfortable. I never had to grab him. I healed all the tumors and sores in his mouth and his tongue, and just created a situation. And he would trot, and he was a free-legged pacer, but he would trot until you got to about 25 miles an hour. Then by himself he'd switch over to a pace, and that's what I did. And that's why I told Jimmy, just don't ever try to put him behind another horse. Just let him do what he wants to do. Don't ever hit him with a whip, and don't ever grab him. Just put him behind the gate. He'll trot till they get to the head of the stretch. He'll switch to a pace. Just leave the gate with him. He'll make the front, and he'll never let a horse go by him. And that was basically the key. The other key to him was that he was so elongated that he used to run down behind, and nobody recognized that. Whoever picks up a back foot and looks underneath the heel to see the ankle, to see if and it was all raw and infected underneath there, and nobody ever recognized it. So what I did was I put a degree pad on him behind, a rim pad, and then I used to put rundown patches on him behind, and that cured that problem. So it was that problem, plus a little bit of shoeing change, plus eliminate a lot of equipment, get rid of the tumor in his throat, fix his mouth, get rid of the rigging, and heal up his lungs. That was it. Okay. Alex, it's not betting after the bell. It's tons of money that comes from rolling over the money. Yeah, Michael's going to explain all of that tomorrow, so tune in tomorrow. Okay. What is that? That is a good topic to discuss. Movies, progress behind the scenes you were able to get produced. You see, I don't see. You see the problem. I don't know if these guys are serious. They're kidding around. There's two guys here that seem like they're in tandem. And anyway, here's one of the questions. That is a good topic to discuss your movie's progress and also the behind the scenes and how you were able to get it produced. Now, that's a good question. There were a couple of other questions you asked that I can't tell if you're serious, if you're hooked up with that other guy that keeps asking the same questions. But this is what I mean. These are good questions. This is a good question that you asked, and I'd be happy to talk about that. I had a good meeting this morning with a major producer, and the problem I'm having now is that that once you make a deal, they take over the whole process, and they can change the story. They can say whatever they want to say, and I'm at the point now where this is probably the last major thing I'll do. And if I'm going to do it, and my story is going to be out there, I want it to be accurate, and I want it to be done well. And a lot of these people, including the person I met with this morning, they want to do it. They want to make deals where they control everything, give you a bunch of money, and then do whatever they want to do. As soon as you tell them that you want to have you want to prove everything that they're right is right, then they start hedging and everything else. So the meeting this morning went very, very well. The meeting with Fox went very, very well. I'm not sure if I'm going to make a deal with them. I got to think about it. And the guy that's on the screen right there, right now, has a friend that wants to talk to me too. And maybe I can get funding for the movie. Maybe he knows some people that can give me a better deal where I can have creative control over my life. And I'm not at the point yet where I don't care if Mickey Mouse plays me. I'm not at that point yet. I'm not at the point where I want an Irish guy with blue eyes and blonde hair playing me. If we're going to do it, let's do it. And if it means I have to raise the money myself to get it done, I could probably make a movie that looks like a $20 million movie for $2-3 million. So I have a lot of progress is being made. What stopped it from the beginning was COVID. Then the Antonacci, the Valalongo brother killed himself with the cocaine and the fentanyl. And then the writer's strike, then the actor's strike, then the union strike and everything. And then I was in the hospital for a long period of time. And now I'm back, and now I'm aggressively, because of my age, I'm aggressively trying to get this thing done. And if I can't make these deals fast enough or to my satisfaction, I'm going to get in touch with that guy you see right on the screen here, and I'm going to see if we can't raise the money to make the movie myself. And that's where I'm at. So thanks for the question.
Could
And
you go down to the end to see if Eric said, if Eric's comment is on, he'll be towards the bottom. Just see this guy, he don't stop. I'm looking for Eric because he said it.
Eric, that's the end.
That's
right
the last
here.
one.
Yeah.
All right, so he
Two
didn't.
people have been in the business of movies. Let me see what this says. I have two people who have been in the business of movies that I can give you the connection to. Both are very nice men. Okay, that would be nice. And what you can do, if this is serious, and I hope you're serious, because I'm serious about this, what you can do is my email is Larry Rolla, LARRYROLLA123@gmail.com. Or you can text me and we can have a conversation at 201-400-3485. And text me, because if you call and I don't recognize the name or the number, I'm not going to answer it. So text me, tell me who you are, and we can go from there. Okay.
Because ask everybody if they like doing this format.
Wait,
Could I
let me
ask?
wait. I want to read. Wait. Oh yeah, this is one thing. Do you know anything about this? Walter Case had a stroke.
I did not hear that.
I
That's
heard
terrible.
that.
Oh God!
I heard that he had a stroke.
Jesus.
Yeah, I heard that. Okay. My friend Jimmy wants to know if
If they like this format.
you like this format. I don't think I think I like it, because there weren't enough serious questions asked, and
People didn't know you.
and I don't know, but we'll probably try it again, because at least I'm getting some questions. The problem I have is I can't tell the bullshit questions from the, and my friend Jimmy here says that's bullshit, but pass it. I really didn't want to pass anything, but when you get the same question asked by the same guy 15 times, you know that he's fucking with you, and that's a terrible thing to fuck with a guy, especially an old man like me. It's a terrible thing to fuck with the old people. So
Especially you, because a life sentence ain't going to be much of a deterrent for you blowing his fucking brains
that's
out.
right,
But,
because just like my friend Jimmy, no, I can't say that. I can't say that. I'll wind up going to jail. Anyway, I don't mind answering some of these questions, but in reality, there wasn't enough questions.
He's a good one.
Where?
Right here.
Okay. Let's see.
Dave Arthur's
David
a good guy.
Arthur. Yeah, Dave Arthur's one of the legitimate guys on here.
Very supportive, David. Thank you.
And that guy Eric too, but
I will find.
I think Eric. I think Jimmy's always looking. Jimmy's like the cop over here. Is anything in that don't look?
Oh no,
right.
I've never been a cop.
Okay. Larry, I pray for you on getting your movie done. I want to see it badly. I had a 2 hour conversation with a big producer today in Manhattan, and I told him exactly what Nicholas Pileggi told me and told Sony Pictures and Village Roadshow, that there is so much material. You got to understand that my story is, if you take The Godfather, Casino, Goodfellas, Wall Street, and put them all together, and the Nicky Bond story, and put them all together, that's my story. And how do you tell that story that lasted more than 10 years
In 2 hours.
in an hour and 120 pages? I have a script written. It's 120 pages long, it's 130 pages long, which is 20 pages too long, with almost 400 voiceovers in it. Casino had 350 voiceovers. Mine has almost 400. And that's the problem. That's the problem, and that's the decision I have to make. And that's why they were talking about maybe a movie and then go from there into a TV series. And I don't know. My dog is up here biting on something. So I don't know, but I want to get it done. You know, if I was younger, I'd wait this out, because Hollywood right now is in a slow mode because of all the strikes and all the AI that's coming into the picture of making movies, and everything is in slow motion, and that's okay if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s. But when you're 85 years old and you're in slow motion mode, it don't work for me, and that's why I'm trying to get a little aggressive, and I'm gonna do whatever I can. If I can't make the right deal, I'm just gonna try to borrow the money myself. I don't think I could borrow it because I really have no collateral except this house, and but I'll try to see if I can get some friends to put up some and just do it myself and get it done. So. I have the guy to make the move. I have everything I need except the money. So if these people I'm meeting with, and I have an appointment with the Fox people too, they're very interested. And this guy today was very interested. So, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. What do you think? We should wrap it up.
Say goodnight, Larry.
Okay. Say goodnight. That's what.
Thanks,
remember
everybody.
Gracie and Alan?
Yeah.
Gracie. He used to
George Burns.
George Burns and
say
Gracie
goodnight,
Allen.
Gracie.
Say goodnight, Gracie.
She'd
All
say
right.
good.
Anyway, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for asking some of these questions. I hope whatever I explained it in such a way that you understood. Some of it was kind of technical, so if you're not a horse person, and like I said, tomorrow we'll be answering a lot of these questions about the computer betting and what Trump's new plan is for depreciation for racehorses and what it's doing to the gamblers. So anyway, that's it. So Manny, thank you for coming on, and I'll talk to you soon, I'm sure. And folks, thank you for coming on, and we're going to end it right now. It's been 2 hours and 4 minutes. Okay.
Here's Buddy looking to go out.
Okay. Thanks a lot, folks, and good night. Good night, Manny.
Good night. This is good. Such a good little guy. He just